Yeah.
When you hear about stories about these fighter pilots finding these objects in the sky that exhibit extraordinary capabilities and don't have all the signatures of traditional propulsion systems, what is your thoughts?
Generally, I tend to be agnostic to the topic. I have a lot of friends that are extremely interested in a lot of things that are out and about in the in the media and in the literature. But generally, I tend to be agnostic, and here's why. In everything that's currently out that people talk about and highlight, it's difficult for me to take the data and the evidence and then pull that into the work that we do in the lab with some of the different test devices we work with as we kind of explore the frontiers of where physics and propulsion might intersect. It's hard to take that and turn that into some kind of an action plan, if you will. So I'm certainly aware, like David Fravor, the experience that he had with, I think he calls them Tic Tacs, right? An amazing account. And there's multiple people that saw it, multiple platforms that saw it. And so to start with, right, I thought maybe there was a small chance that was just like we have stealth technology, right, where if you want to hide a plane, what if we had the ability to project something, right, through some mechanism where we could make people go where we wanted them to go, right? Because I know there's a technology that uses like two different lasers that triangulate a certain point in open air, and they put enough energy into a particular location that they ionize the air, and so it creates like a bright pixel. And so they use that to create three-dimensional displays that kind of look like they're just floating out in air. Now, they're not quite as big as what we saw described with the Nimitz encounter on the West Coast. So I thought for a little while maybe that might be something that we're seeing.
They can project plasma as well, right? Is that the same thing?
It's the same thing, right? So the two lasers intersect, they ionize the air, which creates a plasma.
And
right?
they can do this over long distances as well, right?
I don't know about long distances. I know they can do it over short distances.
Okay.
And so for a while there, I wondered if that might be something that could explain some of what
that makes sense.
What David Fravor and the group saw.
The only problem would be the radar, because I don't know if you wouldn't pick up that on radar, would you? Because it's not a mass, right?
So the plasma would certainly absorb a radar signal, right? Because it's gonna polarize any electromagnetic wave that tries to go through.
So it would show up.
It might.
It might.
Would
it be possible to make something that big, that's 20 feet long, out of that?
It's hard for me to imagine that.
Right.
But I think there's one piece of data that just came out in the last few weeks. I think David Fravor's wingman, Alex, I think her name is Alex Dietrich. I can't remember the name.
I think you're right. Something like that.
So she came out, and so in all the things associated with that particular encounter, right, one of the things I've been trying to figure out is how do they describe the specular surface of the Tic Tac, right? Because if it's these plasma pixels that I'm talking about that kind of creates a volumetric display, I would speculate it might be kind of a glowy looking thing. But I think Alex, in her account, described it as kind of a flat type of
like matte, yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of torpedoed my working theory. So, but again, while it's amazing and incredible, and it's something that people want to go think about and go try and collect more data, it doesn't help me do what I'm doing in the lab. And so I think I kind of keep, my eyes dart every once in a while over to that particular topic. Oh, what's that about? That's interesting. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly agnostic as well. I bounce back and forth from being really excited about it to feel like I'm being duped all the time. Jamie and I talk about it all the time. I'm back in.
Right, Hal Puthoff, although he's got a lot of many and varied interests, he's a great physicist. He's published a lot of great papers in the literature just thinking about physics, right? He's got some stuff he's looked at called the polarizable vacuum. And so, in my drawer of preferred papers, I have a number of papers in there that are from Hal's work on the polarizable vacuum, because I find that interesting and fascinating. And so there may be some things out there that are adjacent to the concept where you could try and pull some of that together, I guess.
That's a fascinating thing for you to say, because Hal believes they have them. and he believes that we have 10 of them.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, which is just so nuts.
Yeah.
And then, he's a little agnostic on the Bob Lazar story.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bob Lazar story, which I'm sure you're aware of, is essentially what we're talking about. Like, you would bring in some out-of-the-box thinkers. And if you found some wildly intelligent young scientist who put a rocket engine in the back of a Honda, which is what he did, you would go, what is that crazy fucker up to? Like, let's have him look at it. What's it hurt?
Right.
The guys at Rocketdyne say he's a wizard.
Right.
Bring him out there. Or the guys at wherever he wasn't at Rocketdyne. He was at Los Alamos. The guys at Los Alamos said he's a wizard. So let's bring him out here. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, his story is I'm not too familiar with it. Right?
It's the nuttiest story of all
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And he supposedly, well, they denied that he ever worked at Los Alamos, but then they found him on an employee log. And not only that, he knew the outline of the place. He knew the security people. George Knapp took him on a tour of it, and he knew everybody. He knew the people that worked there. He knew how to get around. Like, he clearly worked there. So that's interesting that they tried to deny that he ever worked there. And then from there, he gets this job where he is flown out to the desert to Area 51 Site 4. And this is allegedly, right? During this time, he can't even tell his wife what he's doing. So his wife thinks he's going having affairs. He's got to leave and fly away at 11 p.m. at night. Like, right, but you can't tell me where you're going? You want to work? Right.
Yeah, you're working late again?
The wife starts having an affair. And because of his
This
clearance...
almost sounds like a movie, right?
It does sound like a movie. Which is one of the beautiful things about reality. Is that reality seems so fake that sometimes actual true stories are bizarrely fictional.
Right.
So his wife starts having an affair. Because of his clearance, he cannot be working on these things if he could be under extreme emotional duress. So they fire him. They tell him he can't. They don't give him any explanation. They don't tell him his wife's cheating on him. He starts taking people out to the desert, explaining to them, you have to see what we're working on. They fly this thing on certain nights, and they do these test flights around the base. It's nuts. So he takes these people into this area. They see it. They get arrested. When he gets arrested, he gets caught there. He explains what he was doing. He says, okay, I've got to go public or they're going to kill me. So he goes public with George Knapp. Initially, they hide his face, and then he says, you know what, fuck that. Let's just film me. Let me tell you everything. He goes over the diagram of this device, and he calls it the sport model, and it looks like that. That thing that we have right there.
It's almost like a hubcap, right? But
exactly.
Gotcha.
That's a copy of it.
Okay.
In the middle of that thing is some sort of a generator that he said works on this unknown element, this element 115.
Oh, some of this is coming back to me. I think I've seen some stuff over the years.
Yes.
Yeah, some of it's coming back to me now.
And essentially the way he describes it traveling, and again, this is in the 1980s, the way he describes it traveling is exactly the way you describe that sort of warp drive, changing space and time around it. And that you would point that thing where you wanted to go, and it would just... Yeah.
That it all sounds very surreal, right? There's another story. Again, as I said, I have a number of friends that are keenly interested in this, and so I've been exposed to some of the different things. And that to me, the Tic Tac account is interesting because it's got a lot of rigorous data, if you will, that helps you go, well, I can't explain that. I can't explain that. I can't explain that. There is another accounting that I just put in the category, my brain doesn't even know what to make of it, and it's the concept of Rendlesham Forest. I don't know if that rings a bell. There's something over in the UK where there's a base over there, and some airmen came across some very weird... I can't even begin to describe.
I'm not sure if I know this one.
It's pretty bizarre. I don't know it well enough to unpack it today, other than to say it's so bizarre that when you listen to the accounts that were recorded, right, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, if you think about if you watch an octopus in an aquarium, right, and the octopus is doing something, you can sometimes understand what their motivation is. There's like a cross-species ability to it's like communication but without words, right? That octopus wants to go eat that little crab or whatever the case may be. And so our chemical computers, even though they're different, we can look at their behavior and we can go, all right, I think I understand what's what that octopus might be wanting to do today, or a shark, or a dog, or a porpoise. But when you hear what happened in that Rendlesham Forest thing, it breaks all of my guessing machine, and it's like,
what is the story?
a colonel and some airmen reported some weird stuff that was going on in Rendlesham Forest. Yeah, and they went out and tried to investigate it, and they saw some. Again, I'm doing such a terrible job of summarizing it because I don't really know the lore very well. But
here it is right here.
Everything they saw was very bizarre and crazy looking.
We can read it.
Right?
It says, 40 years ago, a remote forest in Suffolk was the scene of one of the most famous purported UFO sightings in history. So just what did happen, and will we ever know for sure? Victor Thurnkettle was out chopping wood one morning in Rendlesham Forest in late December 1980 when a car drew up. Out stepped two men, aged about 30, dressed in suits. "Good morning. Do you mind if we ask you some questions?" asked one in a well-spoken English accent. Earlier, on 26 and 28 of December, United States Air Force security personnel stationed at nearby RAF Woodbridge had reported seeing strange lights in the surrounding forest. Forestry worker Mr. Thurnkettle, unannounced and unidentified visitors, asked if he had been out the previous night. I said no, he recalls. They said, "Did you leave the house at all? Did you see anything?" I said, "What?" They said, "Oh, there's a report of some red lights in the forest. We're just checking." And the two men, very politely but firmly, asked me probably about 20 questions. I thought they were journalists. They suddenly said, "Oh, well, fair enough. There's probably nothing in it," and left. So I bought the papers every day for the next few days to find out what was going on, and of course, there was nothing. 3 years later, however, sightings made the News of the World front page story. It proclaimed UFO lands in Suffolk, and that's official. The story was based on a memo from RAF Woodbridge Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt to the Ministry of Defense. It was released by the U.S. government, described as an encounter with an apparent UFO in the forest. Since then, the sightings have been the source of much debate and speculation among UFO enthusiasts and the subject of numerous books, articles, and TV programs. In March, a documentary concluded the sightings had achieved legend status like the Loch Ness or King Arthur. The forest even has its own official UFO trail, complete with a life-size replica. Go back up. Of the flying saucer, and this is the replica with like the Hamza thing on it, that hand thing. Bizarre. Thurnkettle, UK authorities have said they didn't learn about the incident. Okay, well, what is the story though? Let's get to what is the story. Scroll down more. What does it say? Yeah, and
that gets into the stuff that it doesn't make sense in terms of what they describe the UFO doing. It's just very peculiar, right? So.
Yeah. They got there, my heart absolutely plummeted. There was nothing. It was an absolute normal glade in the forest with 3 rabbit scrapes. They're all carefully marked. It happened to be roughly a triangle. Okay, what else does it say? What is the sighting? Burn marks on trees, but what's the sighting?
UFO looked like. But
okay, sure. That's what they said it looked like? Whoa. And it had those markings on it?
I Googled it. My Google search said that Grush brought it up when he was on here, but I couldn't find like even clips about it, so I don't know that we went that deep into it.
How bizarre is it that it has that symbol? What is that? That's an ancient Hindu symbol, correct? That Hamza symbol?
I don't know.
Oh, they're different. That looks very weird. Huh. So what about this one stands out to you?
I put this one in the category of I don't understand if it's a real account, right? I mean, so I think when you have a lieutenant colonel that's reporting something as factual, I tend not to just immediately dismiss it.
Right.
But and it's not just him; it's several people around him. What they described, right, doesn't make sense to me, right? Mm-hmm. You know, in terms of the David Fravor talking about the Tic Tac, I can kind of, that's not totally alien to me. I could, it's trying to maneuver with the aircraft and it's maneuvering to their cap or whatever the case may be. And I can kind of connect the dots with that. But the Rendlesham Forest thing, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, what about it doesn't make any sense?